Happy Boxing Day, everyone. Welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie, and joining me this week is the host of Talking the PS at CyberChris2077, Mr. Chris.
Hello, everyone. Happy Boxing Day. Hope you had a Merry Christmas.
Indeed. No Rob this week. He is busy doing Christmassy stuff, getting things sorted. He will be on Talking the PS tomorrow, and actually making a rare appearance on CloudQuest on Friday, or if you remember, right now. We've got a great show lined up for you this week. We'll be discussing Fallout 76 does a No Man's Sky, Microsoft really hates cold controllers, and what's coming next year to Game Pass. All that and much, much more on this week's XPass. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on, so you're kept in the loop of all our great content here at Helix Plays Games, such as Talking the PS. Every single Tuesday we break down the PlayStation news happening on the blue side of gaming. Every single Friday we go deep into one particular topic, cloud gaming related, in CloudQuest. Both of these are available on YouTube and podcast services. And coming up next year, we have a new show lined up for you, where we go into HBO's The Last of Us and bring you the Clickercast. More news of that coming in the new year. We also got our live streams, Let's Plays, first looks and all that other stuff. But Chris, before we get into it, have you been playing anything interesting?
Oh, I've been playing loads of interesting things, Richie. I played some Witcher 3 Next Gen. Mention that a little bit more in depth on Talking the PS tomorrow. But yeah, Witcher Next Gen. I dabbled a little bit more in Age of Empires over on the old PC world of things. Age of Empires 2, that is, the remastered one. I'm going to wait to play 4, which I've not played yet in the new year when it comes to console. So I think I just want to sit back on the couch and enjoy Age of Empires on the big screen. And I mentioned High on Life and Talking the PS. That's kind of had my attention. Again, it's just stuck between what I want to commit my time to, but I really feel like above all of them, I need to dedicate some solid time to The Witcher.
Yeah. To
really just get into it. But again, it's Christmas time. We're recording this before Christmas Day, so at the moment it's just trying to get all presents wrapped, sorted, handed off to friends, families, uncle, seeing people, schmoozing, that kind of thing, festivities and whatnot. But yeah, not much time for gaming. Star Wars Battlefront last Thursday, when this show goes live on free feeds. Had a great time with that, and of course, I'm still playing through The Last of Us. So I'm actually dabbling in a lot of things, juggling a lot of things at the moment. But I'm having fun. How about yourself?
I mean, it is Christmas time. I've actually broke up from work today, so I am now on holiday. So I'm actually kind of glad we're getting our shows recorded this week today, because then I've got all of Christmas Eve to kind of. I still need to do my present wrapping and potentially any last minute
classic bloke maneuver. Last minute Christmas Eve.
I have everything, I think. But I mean, I've got tomorrow to kind of like get things wrapped and any. Oh God, I forgot about this that. Last minute things like
straight to the petrol station with you.
Yeah. But I mean, I've just rolled credits and God of War. Talk a bit more about that tomorrow on Talking the PS. Still chipping away at Pokemon, and I haven't decided what's going to be next. My intention is it's probably going to be but I can imagine Boxing Day. I'd probably end up getting the platinum. I have the Boxing Day or the 27th. I'll get the platinum on God of War.
Nice.
And then what's the next game that I'm going to sink my teeth into over Christmas? And I think at the moment there's two front runners for me as it stands.
Go on.
Plague Tale Innocence, is that the first one?
Yeah.
Plague Tale Innocence, because I've bought that on sale on Xbox. So that's definitely like a game I want to jump into. The other one is Chained Echoes, because I did the first look and it's like. And I didn't look at any too many reviews before the first look. I kind of went, I've heard a few bits about that. I'll jump in and see what it's like. Really enjoyed it, and it's getting quite well critically acclaimed. And it's like, do I need to go back to it? So I haven't decided. It's probably going to be one of them.
Okay, well, you know where my vote's at.
Yeah. But
Chained.
yeah.
No. It's not. Plague Tale.
I think I might do is I might just have a Google around, see how long Chained Echoes is, because if it's going to be like a 50-60 hour experience, I'll probably go Plague Tale. But if it's only going to be like 10-15 hours, like, you know what, that could be a nice little, and then start the year in with Plague Tale. Plague Tale is definitely up there, and I'll probably play both of them back to back.
Good, because you're not that fussed on Forspoken anymore, right? You've kind of gone off that a little bit.
The demo kind of soured me a bit. I found the demo a bit bland, to be honest. Like a bit generic. A game that like the trailers look quite interesting, quite unique. It felt just very kind of just by the numbers action. I don't know. Wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I can't really put my finger on what it is about this. I may come back to it if it comes out and the reviews are like, oh my god, this is amazing, and it might just be a case of that, like that vignette that you play in the demo just isn't very good, because you don't really get invested in the characters or anything in that, and if it is a very much a like God of War, very character driven, then the demo where it just throws you into and go do this thing, thank you for playing. It's kind of
Thank you for playing.
But yeah, that's me. So I'll decide probably as I'm wrapping up God of War. It'll probably be a spontaneous decisions, like what do I fancy playing, what style of game, because Chained Echoes versus Plague Tale, Innocence, very different games. So
what you're saying is you don't want me to message you every single day with GIFs and memes from Plague Tale just to sway the vote?
No. It's not a vote. It's just I mean, yeah, actually, it is a vote. Let me know in the comments which you would prefer for me to jump into.
They know what the true answer is.
Yeah. You know what I might do? Actually, no, I'm not. I was about to say I'll do a first look of Plague Tale Innocence, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to rip my office apart over Christmas. So I'm not going to be able to
take that time off where we do. There's no live stream this week. I mean, when this goes on free feeds, you'll know there was no stream yesterday because we're probably shit-faced somewhere celebrating with our mates.
Yeah.
Everything okay on your end?
Apologies to listeners or video listeners if things went weird there. I don't know whether it was on my side or your side, Chris, but you just kind of just shut down for a moment. It might be fine once I've edited together, but we'll find out later.
All right. All I said was there was no stream on Thursday because we're probably shit-faced with our friends somewhere. And it broke the stream.
Indeed. Since we're shit-faced next week, would you like to introduce us to the...
No, the excellently exuberant, excavated Xbox expose, a.k.a. The News. For the last time.
As always. Yeah, very much so. Well, apart from tomorrow, which is talking to PS, but... as always, the news is brought to you by our Helix Heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p, which gives you early access to shows such as CloudQuest, such as Talking the PS, custom emojis in the YouTube channel, and occasionally things like first looks. The aforementioned Chained Echoes, that our members got that first look. I think it was about 3 or 4 days earlier than everyone else. So yeah. Was that the worst segue I've ever done to the news section? Because they were not related.
Nah. Yeah, there's got to be one out there.
Yeah. But first story of the week, Xbox games are in 2023. And to quote Windows Central, Xbox Game Pass in 2023 has no chill. The number of games coming to Xbox Game Pass in 2023 is out of control. Fans of Microsoft's innovative gaming subscription service, Xbox Game Pass, lovingly refer to as the best deal in gaming, with hundreds of titles currently available and legions of more blah 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 blah. Basic background knowledge. While recent criticism suggests Microsoft has potentially overpromised and underdelivered on its promises to ship substantial first-party titles day and date, personally I think that's maybe a bit of a harsh statement. It's been a quiet year, but they promised that Microsoft first parties will come to Game Pass, and they have. But it's looking like potentially a great year for Game Pass next year.
Yeah, I think we did an episode of CloudQuest this week where we kind of reviewed Game Pass throughout 2020. 2022. Why would we go back 2 years to review? 2022. And the reason we did that was because we only joined kind of the Microsoft Xbox ecosystem at the tail end of this year. Obviously, we've observed it. I listen to multiple Xbox podcasts and stuff, so we're in the loop with it. We've just never fully embraced it, and we've sang its praises whilst we were doing our Stadia podcast and we were talking about Xbox Cloud Gaming. And it kind of was nice to look back and see of all the things that we missed out on because we weren't part of the ecosystem. But just to kind of take a step back and look at on a month-by-month basis how much value Xbox brought to the table in and with the Game Pass subscription. And it was fantastic. Spoiler alert, if you go back and watch the show, you haven't or you've not had it, Game Pass is, in my honest opinion, the best deal in gaming. It's a true statement if there ever was one, because it just is sheer like pounds to pence value, or dollars to dimes, or whatever you want to say. It really is, because the games just keep on coming. And I think even though they've been missing out on the first party big exclusive games, like we know we got Pentiment near the end of it, and there's been a couple of other things, but with Redfall and Starfield getting pushed back, I think that's soured a lot of Xbox players this year, especially when they look over the other side of the pond and they see Sony putting out like 3 AAA quality titles this year, and next year looks exactly the same, kicking off with like Final Fantasies and everything else in between, Spider-Man 2 for example. It's no surprise looking ahead to 2023, if they hit the same level they have this past year, but with the first party AAA from Bethesda and such like Starfield, no surprise. And the price as of now hasn't changed. Like you and me are locked in for just short of 2 years now with Game Pass.
Yes, we are.
So we're getting this regardless. So the fact that anything we talk about in this next segment of news, we can play for free, essentially. Yeah. Obviously included with the subscription, but you know what I mean. It's free.
But the subscription's paid. Like, it's done. It's paid for. I mean,
I'm not worrying about it. Yeah.
But it's like Netflix to us at the moment. It's like
I could have nothing in my bank account for the next 2 years, which would mean I'd have a
lot
lot of other problems, but I could still play my Xbox if I didn't have to sell it to make a living.
Yeah.
But Game Pass in 2023 looks great. Again, we haven't even had everything confirmed yet. We've just seen snippets of like, oh, that trailer said Game Pass in it. That the Game Awards, showcase said Game Pass in it. So what have we got?
Mention the Game Awards. We've been talking the last like few weeks about the Game Awards. Microsoft is like kind of lackluster showing, and their response is, I was critical of the response. Their response is, guys, don't worry, we have a lot to show you coming soon. Mm-hmm. We're just not quite there to show you. If that promise is true, look at here's a list of exclusive games for you coming next year, confirmed to come next year, unless delays and stuff. We have Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition coming to consoles, Minecraft Legends, Redfall, Forza Motorsport, Ara History Untold, Starfield, Age of Empires 4 Console Edition. They're Microsoft first-party titles, every single one of them.
Mm-hmm. And I think between the standout ones for me, you've got to look at Minecraft Legends. Even though it's not Minecraft, traditional Minecraft, it still has that name attached to it. Yes. And Minecraft is and always will be one of the best-selling games of all time. So even the fact that it's just got that in the name suggests this is going to sell, or not maybe sell, but it's going to draw millions and millions of users of all various ages and backgrounds. So that's a winner. Age of Empires is Age of Empires. I don't need to say any more about that. The fact that it's come to consoles is super awesome that Microsoft have got behind it and said, like, right, even though these are definitively PC RTS games, they're so beloved, let's port them to a console variant. And no doubt a cloud variant is coming in part and parcel with them, which I'm excited for as well. Redfall's kind of the only one, along with Ara, that I'm kind of like uneasy on. Redfall looks fun, but I worry it could kind of fall in the similar bracket that, was it Rush for Blood did? Where it kind of came out and it was just squad-based, hunt vampires, hunt monsters, asymmetric, and it just kind of falls a bit. Like I feel like it'll have a buzz for the first month it launches, and then that kind of will be it. Forza is a guaranteed win because the games look gorgeous. The last one won IGN's Game of the Year, so that's Forza onto a winner formula. And Starfield has all the hype behind it that you would expect from a Bethesda AAA first-party game and a new IP. Starfield's kind of the only risk that I can imagine is going to possibly fall flat on its face. But in terms of that offering from just the first party, and that's the stuff we only know about, not all the other stuff we've not heard about. Exciting times for 2023.
Yeah. I think for me, our History Untold is like a 4X grand strategy game. That'll find an audience. They always do, and it's not going to be the defining game for Microsoft next year. But it's also going to be a game that in like probably about 3-4 years time people are still playing. Like people do with Civilization, like Humankind.
Yeah.
People just perpetually play these games. It's the sort of game that Rob will pick up in 5 years time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think for me, Redfall is probably I'd say it's the weakest. I don't know what it is about Redfall. That game does not stick in my brain.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's like because it's Arcane who were doing it, and
yeah,
for me, Arcane are one of those studios that I always look at and I just think I don't know whether it's the art style or something, but they never vibe with me. There's just this I can't put my finger on it at all. But when I look at Arcane, like Deathloop, even though it won some Game of the Year awards, as soon as I looked at Deathloop, it was like not really for me. And then when I think back, like Prey did nothing for me again. Dishonored. There's just something about
Bethesda. Like,
I mean, it might be, yeah, because I don't like Fallout and stuff.
You're not a great lover of first-person games, so it could be part.
Yeah, it might just be the first-person. That again, first-person shooters, I don't mind. I've dabbled in many of them over the years, but yeah, maybe about just something to do first-person with swords. It kind of just doesn't visually sit right.
I mean, Redfall is more of a first-person shooter, but it very much looks like it does. Like, you know, if you show someone this game, who's the publisher? You probably going to Bethesda.
Pinpoint them. Yeah, you're right. Although I did enjoy. Oh no, that was Machine Games.
I think Deathloop's a game that I think I would have loved 10 years ago. But when I did play it, it was one of the first games I tried out on my Xbox, and I played for a couple of hours and this is a good game, and then moved on.
Yeah.
Like,
but again, with Redfall, like we probably have tons of fun on a stream.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact I'm not going to be sat playing this on my own. Like, already I can tell you that now. And I'm glad I don't have to pay 70 quid for it. I can just get it on Game Pass. So that's the benefit of Game Pass, isn't it? And why next year is going to be so good, because I get to try this out without like a commitment of £70.
I'm hoping Redfall's one of them games where we'll jump like Chained Echoes has been, where it's like I jumped into it for a piece of content mainly, because this is an interesting game that should be up my alley. It's like I'll jump in, give it a go, record a video, and go, actually, there's something here that I want to explore more. And the only reason I'm not playing more Chained Echoes at the moment is because of God of War and Pokemon's and I need to sleep at some time.
Yeah, and Christmas and the World Cup and your job.
Yeah, it's just
and all the other stuff. But and I think it works Game Pass for indie games as well. So like High on Life, like that's been a fantastic thing. That if it was out there at £50, I probably wouldn't have checked it out myself. But then next year is already lined up for, I think the ones that are on my radar, we've got Atomic Heart, looks really, really fun. Lies of P, which we've covered quite a lot on our old Sounds of Stadia podcast, because it was originally confirmed as coming to Stadia. The kind of Pinocchio, steampunk, Bloodborne, Souls type game, whatever that is.
Soulsborne game in the Pinocchio world, but it's a very gritty, very dystopian kind of, what's the word? Almost noir in some ways.
Yeah, it has a style that isn't arcane, and I dig it. I'm down for it.
It's horror-esque in some places.
Absolutely. The other two indie ones we saw, Hollow Knight. I played
Hollow Knight Silksong, I think, is one of the most anticipated games of next year. Not just indie games, of games. Like, I've not played Hollow Knight, but I do respect it. We probably should play Hollow Knight at some point.
I've played Hollow Knight. It's good. It's not really. It's like Metroidvania again. It's like I enjoyed the 4 or 5 hours I played of it, but then when I was done, I was like, I don't want to keep going back over it. We really vibed with Party Animals during this year's Game Awards, even though it wasn't Microsoft showing it off. It was just, I think it was one of the pre-show games, and it looked like Gang Beasts meets Human Fall Flat, but
that was one
animals.
Very much, I was watching that as a content creator and go, oh yes, there's a stream there. This is going to be a fantastic stream. It's a game that, if I wasn't a content creator, if we didn't do streams every single Thursday, make sure you check out whatever we're doing. I'd probably give a pass on, but because I am a content creator, I am a streamer, I was like, yes, I want to play this game.
Give it a Game Pass on. And then the other one liked at the Game Awards as well was Replaced, which was that 2.5D cyberpunk game that was delayed because of COVID and no, sorry, it wasn't COVID. Sorry, it was the Russian-Ukraine thing, because I think the studio is actually based in Russia potentially. But that looks super cool at the Game Awards, and I think it just kind of, again, it's just setting Game Pass and Xbox up for next year. I'm playing all of these without care in the world because they're going to be there day one, front and center for me to just download, stream, or play without worrying. Ark Survival 2 is in there, but I didn't really care much for Ark 1. But in terms of like a big game, that's going to land quite big with audiences as well.
Ark's got a pretty solid following. In fact, I'll probably mention Ark Survival Evolved later in the show in context to another Microsoft game. Because there's an interesting in terms of. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a bit. But like going on the JRPG side, an area where Microsoft have been typically weak. We've just had Persona 5 Royale. Next year we're starting the year off with Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Gold, and I'm very excited to jump into these games.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise is coming. We've got Wolong Fallen Dynasty from Team Ninja.
Yeah, it's in terms of Microsoft kind of re-embracing or reigniting that relationship with JRPG fans has been a big push. And the fact that Persona collection you mentioned there was really the big thing that I think, because they're so well revered in the games industry, I think having them is like a staple of you need them in your library, and then they're kind of building off the back of that. But yeah, Wolong Fallen Dynasty has a lot of hype behind it. That's free in March. And yeah, Monster Hunter Rise was notoriously, it was a Switch exclusive, right? And then now that's ended. Again, Monster Hunter, Capcom's biggest selling game of all time. The fact that the spin-off or the follow-up on Switch is now coming to a wider audience, it's great. And I think this just goes a long way to show that Microsoft are willing to kind of open their slate up to more things. And I think Game Pass helps that, because let's face it, if they went to Atlas and said, could we have the Persona games? Atlas, like, they have to and ah about porting it, but if Microsoft throw a ton of cash at them to get it on Game Pass for a set amount of time, that might be worth the money. We actually used to speak about Stadia all the time, saying Google need to give money to build this library and this platform up, and Microsoft are kind of having to do the same thing with Game Pass. Yes, it's probably costing them a lot behind the scenes, but look at all the goodwill it's getting them for Game Pass. It's huge. It's undeniable.
They wouldn't just do it if it was just a money sink for them. They have to receive a return somewhere in from Game Pass. Somehow Microsoft are making money out of Game Pass. Otherwise, they just wouldn't do it.
And with these games, it's the variety, right? Because like that could having Persona 3 and 4 drop in January could be the difference between everybody who got an Xbox 2 years ago and got 2 years Game Pass. Just having Persona in your library come January could be the difference. Them going, you know what, I'm going to renew Game Pass for another year because I'm big into my JRPGs. Or they could have gone elsewhere and maybe looked at a PS5 because the 2 year cycle was up. It's kind of like mobile phones. When you're looking for your 2 year upgrade, Game Pass is a great hook to make people go, you know what, I'm going to keep it. Even if they ditch the console, they might still keep Game Pass for cloud or PC or something. And again, it's the ecosystem that Phil Spencer drives home on about. And if you've got the variety that kind of ticks everyone's boxes, you keep that subscription model and you've got that £10, that $10 coming in every single month, regardless of what's going on there.
And I actually think Persona 3 and 4 could be really important games for Game Pass, because these are games that were typically, I mean, portable, it kind of suggests, gets you in, like, these are Vita and PSP games.
PSP, yeah.
And I think we talk on CloudQuest about Elden Ring and how From Software, the Elden Ring is the game where, From Software, we're kind of bubbling under the surface, felt like they're close to breaking through to the mainstream. Elden Ring was the one that got them over the line. And now they are seen as a mainstream developer, not a niche developer.
Absolutely.
I think Persona 5 was the same thing for Atlas in a way. I mean, Persona 5 is not for everyone. I wouldn't recommend it to you, for example. I don't think it would be up your alley. But I hadn't heard of Persona before Persona 5. And that broke through in such a way that, and then I tried that out for the first time on PlayStation Now. When I was trying out PlayStation Now, that was just one of the games because I kept hearing about it. I thought, I like anime, I like RPGs, I'll give it a go, and fell in love with it. So now this is why I'm excited for Persona 3 and 4, because these are well loved in the series and they're critically acclaimed, but I've never had the opportunity to really play before. And because they come in the Game Pass, it's like, there's 2 games I am playing next year.
Yeah. Rob says it quite well tomorrow at the very end of talking to PS when he says about doing this, it's kind of doing like content creation stuff. It's opened his eyes to more games than ever. And we've said that for the last 3 years with Stadia Pro, that it actually opened our eyes up to trying games and genres, both indie and big games that I maybe would never have got around to, or I maybe missed the first time round. And Game Pass is essentially doing that same thing. Where it's cultivating a library of stuff you wouldn't have otherwise looked at. Like,
for audio listeners, I'm holding up my copy of Trails of Cold Steel on PS4, 'cause I actually haven't took it downstairs. It's just been up here since I finished playing it.
But you're right, some games just kind of, they draw in that audience. And
it was
you said about
Trails
Persona.
3 coming to Stadia that got me interested in the series, and eventually I bought the game on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably wouldn't have played it if it wasn't for Stadia, if it wasn't for being a content creator, although I didn't actually cover it apart from talking about it in podcasts. I never actually played it on stream because I didn't really. I played the intro of Trails 3 a couple of times, but knowing it was the third game in the series and it is a continuous story, so it's not a Final Fantasy game thing or Persona where the base it's a new world, new set of characters, you can just jump into any of them. That's why I wanted to go back to number 1 first, but yeah, it's like a bit of a shout out as well to Ni no Kuni as well. I played a bit of the first one on PlayStation. I think it might have been a PS Plus game. Didn't vibe with it, but you know, it's a good game, but it's kind of very Disney, very fairy tale. It's very, very fairy tale in the way it goes out. Like, it's like, okay, it's like, this isn't for me, but that doesn't, not to say it's not a great game. It's
absolutely.
Just, yeah.
It's variety. Again, variety is the spice of life, and I think in summary for all the stuff we should be excited for next year, and for viewers and listeners out there who've just signed up like we have for 2 years worth of Game Pass Ultimate, if you added these up monetarily, you're looking at probably well over $1,000 for all the games we've just spoke about unlisted. And
this is what
Game Pass Ultimate
comes
to like probably what? Yeah, and Game Pass Ultimate comes to like what, 160, 70, 80 pound a year, something like that. If you're it's like 15 quid in it, right? So either way,
well,
it just shows you the true value. And if you're, whether you're doing it from a monetary standpoint and you know, like prices, inflation, everything's going up, like this is the way you can play some of the best games of next year without having to fork out hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of pounds.
To put the value in perspective, you're saying these games, if you've bought them individually, come to about $1,000. Xbox All Access, which we both have, which gets us two years of Game Pass Ultimate, so that's PC Game Pass plus console Game Pass plus cloud streaming, the Xbox Series S,
and
over the course of to control it over the course of 2 years, that's about 500 quid.
Shocking,
so
really. It sounds like we're ripping them off when you say it like that. Like, we should give them more money.
Half the amount of roughly half the amount of value that we're getting from Game Pass in 1 year over 2 years. So that's effectively quarter it.
Absolutely mad.
Yeah.
And that's why it's the best deal in gaming.
But
show me something better.
Would you be happy to pay even less money for Game Pass?
It depends what the caveat is, Richie. It depends what the caveat is.
The caveat is it potentially could be ad supported.
I'm out.
I knew you were going to say that because I'm completely out as well, because we've just been like waxing lyrical about how great the value is. It's like, I'm looking at the price of like that £21 a month. If you just want to get into gaming and you don't want to drop out hundreds and hundreds of pounds as a lump sum, £21 a month is very manageable. Bear in mind, Netflix is it's $10.99 a month. So you have Netflix plus Disney plus you could have an Xbox and Game Pass.
Yeah. So what cheaper version? What are you talking about here?
So there's rumours that Microsoft may be introducing a cheaper ad-supported version of Game Pass.
Ads? I don't like. Again, I think telling me I don't have YouTube Premium.
Me either.
Because I feel like the 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
I think it's overvalued for
manageable.
what you get.
Yeah, I know millions and millions of people, lots of our viewers and listeners have it.
There's also features blocked behind YouTube Premium, which I think should be basic, like the ability if you're playing music to turn your screen off. That should be basic functionality for me. It shouldn't be locked behind Premium.
you've got to distinguish somewhere to get people over to it. But in terms of
Yeah.
gaming, I can't see a time when they would implement an advert, and it's never been part of gaming, whereas YouTube and stuff has always had ads as far as I can remember anyway. But like, if you tell me I'm going to boot up Witcher 3 tonight and I have to sit through a 30-second advert for, I don't know, a new Apple TV show or any I can't think of what adverts are on now, Tesco, supermarkets, anything like that, no, that is not. I do not go to gaming to be hit with advert. Like FIFA alone EA get loads of shit for putting advertisements on their virtual billboards in the game. I think it would work if Game Pass goes up next year, like Phil Spencer's alluded to. If the price of Game Pass jumps $5, but they go, hey, if you're not happy with a $5 jump, don't worry, the ad tier is the same as the original price. That might pacify some people. And again,
I think that would make people even more angry, to be honest. If that would then, I think for a lot of people, feel like you're getting something taken away, as like, oh, give us more money and then we won't like punish you with adverts. But I mean, I think we need to say, like, advertising in itself isn't necessarily an evil practice. Sometimes business can go about in a very nefarious way. But for me, on playing something like FIFA, if there's some advertisements on like the advertising hoardings around the pitch, that doesn't break the game in any way, shape, or form for me, because when you're watching football live, or you go to a game, you see that's there. It's just it's not interfering with my enjoyment of the game.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't think advertisements are evil. It really depends on, for me, how it's implemented and the nature of what is actually being shown. Because like in FIFA and like football, like around the edges of pitches, it's basically just a banner logo. You can easily ignore a logo. It's not something that's forcing you to stop playing the game to pay attention to this things to rip money out your pockets, out your wallet.
Yeah, it'll all be about implementation. And
yeah. So if it was like, I don't know, if you launched a game on Game Pass, or let's say it's a cheaper tier, let's say a £5 a month tier for Ultimate, and it just meant a 15 to 30 second advert as you boot up a game, and then it just leaves you alone for your entire play session.
Yeah, it's all about how they implement.
It's not,
like if they go sticking adverts like on, like if like in between my tiles on the home screen, there's like an advert for, I don't know, Peloton running machine, treadmill or something like that, just randomly sandwich in. It'll be like, what? Why? What the hell? But
the UI is bad enough already without throwing ads in there.
But they've got to get them in somewhere, right? To validate the cheaper price point.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as long as it doesn't impact my experience, and that includes like the UI. If there's just like, I don't know, at the top there's just a banner if you're on the cheaper version. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it system wide though. The thing is, because you don't have to have Game Pass.
Yeah.
So you'd have to implement it in a way it's when you're interacting with the content from Game Pass. If you go into the Game Pass app on your console or your phone or whatever, then maybe you get a banner ad. Maybe there's ads in there. Or, as I said, maybe 15 to 30 seconds as you launch a game.
Yeah, it's something a bit odd. I know a lot of the big entertainment companies are looking at it. I know Disney Plus and Netflix are apparently looking at it. And they've built themselves up to this point where, like, right, we've built everything now. How do we monetize it? It's like, we've got our millions of audience. Like, how do we squeeze them for every last little bit?
The big problem with that is what's happening. Like, look at Netflix at the moment, where they're kind of losing quite a lot of like money, and their stocks are falling. Or where a few months ago, I haven't checked up recently. And it's that, okay, we've built this thing, we've built this platform, we've got this user base. Now let's try and monetize it. It's like, but then as like a consumer, you're like, but we agreed to pay this much for the service, and now you're trying to go, but now you need to give us more money. That it doesn't ever really sit well with people. And when you have that constant like, oh, and now it's more money, and now it's more money, and now it's more money. Yeah, either for me, if they were to implement, going back to Game Pass, implement an ad tier, it has to be a significant drop in price. I think that's the only way you can do it. I don't think you could put up the current tiers to make room for one. I think it would have to be cheaper.
it's again, I could also see them just like not doing it. I feel like they'd get that much backlash from an optics and a marketing standpoint. It's almost like not worth doing, because for a fact IGN, Kotaku, so if they're all going to run with it, it's like the worst thing ever invented.
We're already talking about it.
I mean, yeah, in a negative through a negative lens though. But again, the mainstream get a hold of it. Yeah. I mean, it's always, I guess it's an option. It's another option. Like, if you don't like it, pay for the higher one. Like, that's why different tiers of subscriptions exist in any industry, because it's easy to upsell when the value is clearly there.
Yeah. The problem is, I think if they were going to do it, they should have done it right from the off. Because now, if they try to put up the price of Game Pass when they bring this in, you're just going to piss off your current user base, which is not a good idea. Or if they bring it in as a lower priced option, well, Game Pass is already incredibly successful.
Yeah.
In terms of its user base, and it continuing growing. So it's like the price of Game Pass, we've mentioned several times already in this show, it's the best value in gaming. How many people are actually looking at Game Pass and go, oh, that's too expensive? I don't think there's many people thinking like that. So why would you go for the low tiers? Like, I don't think I would step down.
Yeah, but then
if I was just paying for Game Pass monthly.
Yeah, then if they're clever, they can always launch it and say, like, yes, we know the next tier is higher, but we're going to add more value, and it might be something like ridiculous, like Game Pass Ultimate and I guess Premium
Extreme
now includes Netflix, now includes Disney Plus, and all of a sudden it's like, right, so the add one is the base model. Premium members, oh, you're making us pay £2 more a month, but I now get Netflix included. And again, it's all about like that perceived value, isn't it? That, you know what? Yeah. In my mind, I'm like, right, well, I'm saving on Netflix now, so I'm definitely going to pay a little bit more for the next Game Pass tier. So, like, yes, all of a sudden the ad tier 1 doesn't mean anything to me, and they're charging me more, but I'm satiated by the fact that I'm getting extra value. So, like, there's clever marketing they could do in it, yeah.
I'd pay an extra £2 a month if I've got Netflix, considering I've just paid £11 for a single month.
Exactly. And
that's like literally, that's half a year. That's basically 6 months of Netflix for free across the year. That's
exactly. And how many times do we say on the Sounds of Stadia podcast, like, YouTube Premium and Stadia Pro should be bundled in some way, shape, or form to show that perceived added value and benefit.
Almost like never did it. Luna did with Amazon Prime and one of their things. Like, hey, if you got Amazon Prime, you now have access to this stuff in our gaming service.
Yeah. And that, I know it's a different show. Well, we don't have the show anymore, but like that is just the biggest frustration. Like, before Google threw the towel in on Stadia, why didn't they just roll the dice and go, you know what, YouTube Premium members, you have access to Stadia Pro. And those 140 million YouTube Premium members, even if like 2% checked out Stadia Pro off the back of that idea, that could have generated like a whole different pillar of income or interest and stuff. And they never did it, but...
yeah,
less said about that, the better. Microsoft might have a better handle on their subscription models.
While you
evidently they already do.
Yeah, while you're talking about Stadia, did you know that High on Life is the most popular thing on Xbox Game Pass right now?
Of course it is. Of course
it is.
No surprise. No surprise. We have a first look up on the channel right now. Super funny, enjoyable, free on Game Pass. If you're a fan of Rick and Morty, definitely this will be up your street. It's the funniest game I think I've played in a long, long time. Genuinely had me laughing out loud for parts that we played through. So yeah, absolutely no surprise that it's top. It toppled Minecraft, right? This week or something.
Reading from Eurogamer, in a new blog, Microsoft announced Squanch Games' comedy shooter is Xbox Game Pass's biggest launch of 2022. Not only that, it is the biggest third-party Game Pass launch ever and the biggest release of a single-player only game in the service's history. Wow. Speaking on this news, Squanch Games COO, or Coup, if you prefer, Mike Fridley stated that the studio was blown away by the response from players, while Xbox's Matt Percy said High on Life was a unique title the company had been excited about for a long time. It's fantastic to see so many Game Pass members jump into it at launch to experience Squanch's stories for themselves. Yeah, so High on Life kind of successful.
Just a bit. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where who's the winner in this? Is it just Squanch Games or Microsoft like, ha ha ha, we barely paid anything for this because it was Stadia's mess up originally. We jumped in to help them out with development and put it on Game Pass, give them a bit of money, and the game's gone on to be their biggest launch ever for a single-player game. And now Squanch are probably thinking we undersold ourselves to Xbox here because we clearly had a hit on our hands. And I guarantee the sequel, which is pretty much a lock-in right now, after a success like this, you can't not follow it up with a sequel. They'll be clambering. Microsoft will be clambering to get Squanch games either in-house or lock them down for the sequel.
Yeah.
And what could have been Google Stadia exclusive.
I don't think Squanch Games are going to end up being a Microsoft-owned studio, because there's one big reason why I can't see that happening, and that's Justin Roiland is a huge fan of VR. This is the only non-VR title he's ever put out. And I think he was on some kind of funny content. I think it was probably Games Daily. And you could tell when he's talking about VR, when you can just tell the passion someone has for something. Yeah. Listening to him and that it's not even an interview. It's like literally just a news show. It's like listening to him talk about VR in that context. Because he was actually talking about Nintendo at this point. Like, there's no way that guy is going to sell his company or go exclusive with a company and that doesn't do VR. It just doesn't feel like that would be in what the mission statement for Squanch Games. But I mean, the thing I want to go back to here is: do you think Squanch Games, High on Life, is this popular because of Game Pass, or do you think that it would have been this popular anyway and it's pulling Game Pass up?
I think it's back to what we were saying at the start of the show about perceived value and the title. Like when we were listing out the games for 2023, there was plenty of stuff in there that we said we'd never play without Game Pass. I think this has just been a perfect storm where it's like quiet end to the year for Microsoft. Let's face it, they've not had any. There's no big AAA games that have come out. Like Pentiment was their only thing of note, but that's by no means mass market, anything like that. Perfect storm. You've got the buzz and hype of clearly Rick and Morty. The gun is literally just Morty talking to you. So if you're a Rick and Morty fan, you're in there already. The way it's been marketed is something different, this full and colourful world with a talking gun. Let's face it, no game, to my recollection, has ever done that before, especially with the amount of dialogue that this thing gives off. It's got that, Rob talks about it tomorrow and talking to PS about the streamability, but I feel like the viral nature of this game is... I've seen articles this week of parents on mums and dads forums posting screenshots of High on Life saying, don't let your kids play this game because it's
you're in
swearing
for
and they do drugs in the opening 10 minutes, and it's yes, mum and dad, the game is called High on Life. It's literally talking about drugs, and it's also rated 18+, so your kids shouldn't be playing 18 R-rated games anywhere.
You get some people who are still stuck in the early 90s, see it, or it's a cartoony game, therefore it's fine for kids, and not realised actually a lot of stuff in that era should never have been shown on for kids.
Let's face it, we played games we shouldn't have played, but because of Game Pass and digital, games out of our reach or out of children's reach is so accessible now. If they have Game Pass, do mum and dad, do mum and dad even really know? But I think, it's just this combination of it's R-rated, it's 18+ rated, so kids shouldn't be playing it, but as you said, it looks like a cartoon. Rick and Morty, free on Game Pass.
It's literally hilarious in places.
Quiet time of the year, I just think it's a perfect storm of everything.
The thing
it's on Metacritic at 63, and
so it's not done great it's mixed with critics, which I totally get.
Yeah,
because outside, if you remove the comedy element, it's a very fine, okay game.
It's a basic shooter.
It's a very basic shooter that could have came out 10 years ago, graphics aside.
Even in our first look, I complained about the shooting didn't feel anywhere near Battlefield Call of Duty levels.
But I think you have to look at the game as a whole package, and the comedy is probably a good 50% of the experience.
Absolutely.
Anyway, the thing I want to get back to is, do you think it would have been this successful in Stadia?
I think it would have been successful for Stadia in terms of getting eyes on it and it being something different and, more importantly, a decent exclusive.
See, I'm not sure.
But it could have just been swept under the carpet.
I'm thinking this is a game that would have fallen into the category of people disappointed that it came to Stadia, that would have been a Stadia exclusive.
Yeah,
and I think people would have just not give it a chance. Yeah, hopefully you'll be saved by something else. because it's on Game Pass, it's Rick and Morty. It's like a lot of people. It's very easily accessible for pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's been a contributing factor to the success. Saw the story the other day and like how successful the game's been. I saw some takes from like Stadia fans and stuff saying, "Oh, what could have been?" And I'm like, I don't think this would have like made Stadia the success that some people think it will have been.
No, I think there's something to be said about if they'd followed through with all of their other promises. This might have been a nice little feather in the cap of like, oh, this year they landed The Quarry, came out in the summer, exclusive. The Harmonix game could have came out at the start of the year, exclusive. They should have got multiple AAA games this year. They didn't. Next year, Dead Island 2's coming. Great. We got FIFA. Great. And then at the end of the year, High on Life. Terrific. It's been a great 2022 for Stadia. Instead, shit the bed, closed.
Yeah, it's just one of them. I feel, thinking about it, it's just, I think that it's the combination of this game, of what this game is, and Game Pass that's led to the success. I don't think this game probably would have had the same success if it was on PlayStation Plus. On the lower tiers, probably not premium. But again, it's that, okay, this is now in my library, I will give it a go kind of success. And then a lot of people have jumped it. It's cost of the comedy, where I think if this was just on Stadia and you had to pay 60 quid to access it, I don't think it would be anywhere near the level of success, unfortunately.
I mean, just the sheer player base alone would have
it's still
so much
it's still absolutely a miss for Stadia. Like 100%. Like,
well, the whole thing was for Google.
Yeah, but you know what might not actually be a miss? Fallout 76.
Fallout 76.
So, we're talking 4 years after its disastrous launch, Fallout 76 has now amassed an impressive 13.5 million players.
I take umbrage with this article.
Okay.
Just because Bethesda said 13.5 million players over the course of 2022. And again, on Game Pass, I just feel, from someone who, like, again, has my ear quite close to podcasts, gaming industry full stop, follow a lot of things across all social media and such, and watch and listen to a lot of things. Out of these 13.5 million players over the course of 2022, I guarantee you, I mean, I can't say I guarantee you, in my opinion, less than half of these play it actively. This is people who probably just checked in on Game Pass, booted it up and went, oh, this isn't the Fallout I was looking for, and then went and found out New Vegas or 4 or something, or 3 instead. Because I just don't hear anything from anyone about this.
There's a key lack of concurrent players in this report. So, yeah, again, I think it is your Game Pass effect. A lot of people have had access to it. I'll give it a go. But that being said, it is currently reviewing mostly positive on Steam. On it, because with Steam, with the reviews, you got your all-time reviews and you got your recent reviews. So the recent reviews are mostly positive.
Yeah. Which
suggests that it has kind of improved a lot.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to take away from the game's like turnaround. Like, again, Bethesda actively came out and said, like, we apologize, we will fix this, and they've done it. They've put the work in to tweak it, change the world, add in NPCs, change up the way the game plays, and credit where credit's due. I think it needed to happen for the sake of Bethesda's kind of moral obligation, I guess, to their fan base, because everyone was very pissed off when it came out. And yeah, it's great to see. I just think the headline of the article is a bit misleading for realistically how many people are playing it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not sold. I talk tomorrow and talking to the PS how I think the problem with Fallout 76 was not necessarily the execution, it's the concept. I just don't think that Fallout really lent itself that strongly to a multiplayer experience. Because for me, when I think of Fallout, it's how I think of like Skyrim. It's about immersion in that world, becoming that character, and the stories you tell, the characters you meet, and like when you go on a quest, you doing a quest and me doing a quest, while it's the same story for the quest, our experiences would be very different based on how we've built our character, how we've approached it, how we've got sidetracked along the way. That's what these games are about for me.
Mm-hmm.
When you take this to a perpetual online experience and you just populate with other people running around the world, I think for me, the other people running around in the world get in the way of the experience that I would be personally after as an RPG fan. However, if you are into perpetual world stuff, and I should mention as well, actually, I don't think the strength of Fallout is in its gameplay. It's not a great shooter. It's not a great RPG. It's the world. It's the whole package that makes it made Fallout special. But yeah. I mean, if you are into Fallout 76, like, good on you. I'm glad that Bethesda have put the effort in that it is seeming to be on this redemption arc.
Yeah, it's again, yeah. No disrespect to them all. I just think if you look like doing just a quick bit of research here, I've just headed over to Twitch. If I search for High on Life, there's currently,
everyone's playing it.
I mean, High on Life currently there's 4.3 thousand people streaming High on Life. If we look at Fallout 4, the entry prior to, of course, Fallout 76, that's got 1.2 thousand people actively playing it right now. Fallout 76, how many people did it say have checked out this year? 13 point something million?
Yes, I've close the article, so it's like 13 million.
Yeah. Well, either way, currently 625 people streaming it. So, like, just looking at them metrics about right now, live, in the moment, on Twitch, you can see the significant drop in. There's more interest in Fallout 4.
And this feels like a streamer game as well.
I mean, yeah.
It's a community, because I could see how weak on the stream could that grab our community in and play alongside us.
Yeah. But I think it's safe to say the next Fallout game will not be multiplayer focused, I think. Even though we do have to wait many, many years for it if Bethesda stick up with doing their one game cycle at a time, because we've got this, then we've got the next Elder Scrolls, then we've got the next Fallout, you'd imagine, in rotation. So you're talking like a decade anyway, so don't worry about it. Fallout 76 will be, I think, well fixed beyond then.
I think Fallout 76 was Bethesda coming to the table way too late with the concept of like, it's kind of, for me, similar to like how I think about Destiny. It's like, it's a good game, but it is this RPG that is this perpetually online thing. It is mainly about playing with other people. But I think Fallout 76 came way too late to the table and very much was a lackluster experience. And again, I don't know what it is about Fallout. I just don't think the IP lends itself that well to that game. But there again, the Elder Scrolls Online's done really well.
It has indeed.
But let's moving on to Hideo Kojima. So Hideo Kojima, companies for Hideo Kojima was mad before Microsoft picked up his cloud game. So Hideo Kojima
not mad as in angry mad.
Yeah, he just comes in, he's just sitting down with Google, because we know he did, and he's just really angry the whole time. He's throwing chairs, he's swearing, and they're just like, Google, like, but
he's a madman.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
No, mad as in, like, crazy, as in weird. It's like, this is a stupid idea. How on earth will this be successful? Like, I mean, Hideo Kojima is going to be successful. But he's discussed his mysterious cloud gaming project Microsoft is set to publish, saying companies he discussed it with previously thought he was mad. Do you think Google's one of them?
Oh, absolutely. Like, again, Kojima, for the longest time, similar to High on Life, was rumoured to be a Stadia game, and he was working with them with the power of the cloud. And in the Eurogamer article we're reading from, in his own words, he says it's a completely new game that no one has ever experienced or seen before. I've waited a very long time for the day I could finally start to create it. With Microsoft's cutting-edge cloud technology and the change in industry trends, it's now became possible to challenge myself to make this never-before-seen concept. Yes, this was something he looked at with Google, and when they closed their own studios, that was the bridge severed, burned to a crisp, and he went elsewhere. And obviously Sony seemingly don't care that much about cloud, neither did Nintendo, so naturally he went he's looked at Microsoft and they've went, yeah, we'd love to work with Kojima. Now you're in. Remember, his studio has been independent for 7 years now.
Yeah.
So he's now established on his own.
They've only published one game. Can you say? It's Kojima, so you can say he's established. But if a studio publishes one game, can you say they're established?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you can if you're Kojima. I'm not sure if it wasn't Kojima, but again,
Kena Bridge of Spirits was their first game,
and yeah, they've had a good success. But I wouldn't say
I
they're
guess
established
it
as a
depends.
studio.
I guess it depends. Yeah, again, he alone comes with more weight than anyone. He could sell Kojima Productions tomorrow, start up a brand new company, and he would still be on such a better footing than anyone else just because of who he is.
I mean, he basically did that. He left Konami. Was it Konami?
Yeah, I'm saying he could do it again.
He left Konami
and
just... Yep, he's Kojima Productions, and now we're going to do everything I've ever dreamed of.
Yeah. But
why do you think he's talking about this now?
Because it's probably becoming more of a reality. He said in there in that quote I read, he's had it on his mind for so. He's longed for the day he could put this into practice. And much like a lot of the stuff he kind of forecast in Metal Gear Solid 2 back in the day, he's always been ahead of his time when it comes to it. And he's been... Oh, what's the quote? What quote is it from? It's from a movie somewhere where they say, like, I'm limited by the resources of my time. I feel like it's a Marvel thing. I'm limited by the technology of my time.
Yeah, that's Howard Stark.
Yeah,
when he's talking about the arc reactor.
And that's exactly like this. Kojima's had this in his mind since like the 90s, and now finally companies are coming to him going, look what we can do with thousands of server blades and consoles running in the cloud, and it's zoomed straight to any screen in the world through the click of a link. And Kojima's like, I've got you.
The technology is finally caught up with the vision.
Yeah, and he's like, right, give me the money, give me the time, give me the budget, give me the exclusivity. I'm on it. I'll see you in 2025 or something. And Microsoft are never going to turn that offer down at all.
But
and here we go.
The reason I mentioned the timing, I mean, this is, I think it was, he did an interview with IGN. This feels like a tease that something is about to happen. You're about to see something. He's starting to plant the seeds of this game in people's minds, because it was back in the summer. I was like, yeah, I'm doing this game, working with Microsoft. And you feel like if there wasn't something coming anytime soon, you just let it stay quiet for now. Mm-hmm. We know Microsoft wasn't at the Game Awards. We know that they have some exciting stuff to show from what they're saying.
Yeah.
Do you think early next year we get some sort of Microsoft showcase and Kojima's there with this game?
I think so. And in the same article, he quotes, like, it was ultimately Microsoft who showed me that they understood, and now we're working together on the project, including the technology front. And I think this is genuinely probably cloud gaming for like what we were promised with Stadia, what Google came on stage and said, like, we can make games that are physically not possible with local hardware. And that was always the dream. And it never manifested at Google because
they never made any games.
Yeah, but evidently Microsoft are infinitely better at dealing in this industry, and they've shown that time and time again. And they just clearly have something up their sleeve, which I think they think is going to be good for the future. And we kind of see little bits of that mirrored over at Sony with Jade Raymond and Haven. They saw a lot of good shit going on at Google and cloud gaming that when they went away, Sony literally bought them within a few months of them creating their company, because there's something they've reiterated time and time again. There's something within that team that they've seen or that they forecast for, that they've put into pre-production, that's made heads at Sony go, buy him now. Microsoft has seen something here with Kojima where they saw him do it and went, get him signed up now.
I think with Jade Raymond and with Haven Studios, it could be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, because in the time, Microsoft was seemingly buying everyone on the table. Jade Raymond has got a stellar reputation as a game developer. Mm-hmm. Is it a case of we've got this exclusive deal, we have an opportunity here, I wouldn't be surprised if the initial exclusivity deal had like clauses in that they could purchase the studio or something for a set amount or something. It might have just been a case of the seeing like the sort of numbers getting chucked around by Microsoft when it comes to like the Bethesda deal, like Activision Blizzard. They just went, pull the trigger.
Yeah,
it's worth the risk. If we don't do it now, it might have been a clock on it. Yeah. If we don't do it now, next year it's another 10 million. it could have been one of them sort of situations.
Yeah, it's very curious because I think if you partner the Haven stuff up with Kojima and then you kind of caveat it all with all the great things Bungie were saying about how they were working in the cloud during lockdown and beyond for their projects, and they've got something new in the pipeline, it does make you feel like we're on the precipice of like this tipping point of whether it is cloud or some form of cloud or external hardware powering our local hardware. Again, technology always changes and evolves, and I think Kojima's always been at the front of that, and seemingly whatever they're working on, whatever this project is, it's ready to pop off in the next year or two. So we'll wait with bated breath, no doubt.
I mean, I think with Kojima thinking about, he said he's been thinking about this for like 5 or 6 years already. You'd like to think like a lot of the key concepts of what the game is, whatever story's going to be told, are nailed on at this point.
Oh, absolutely. The guy probably wakes up and dreams about 5 brilliant ideas.
There'll be tweaks throughout production, but I feel like this game might actually be in production now. So
definitely.
We're probably about, I'd say, if I guess, I'd say we're 3 years out from this game.
Yeah,
but
he's got Death Stranding.
This will be early production, or at least pre-production, where he's actually assembling the team. He's putting down, like, explaining, like, to his team, like, this is how it works. This is how we're going to have to approach the development of it. Bringing in Microsoft, this is what we need from you technology-wise. Like, it feels now like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something next year about this game.
We should do.
Right. Moving on. Microsoft. So a couple of weeks ago, Chris, we covered Microsoft making hoodies for the controllers. Have you bought one yet?
Fuck no. There's a stupid idea, and we said this on the show. It's a stupid idea. My controller does not need clothing. It's a controller, not a child.
But what if I could told you may be able to buy a fetching bobble hat?
No, for the same reasons that as listed above.
Oh god, it's. I don't know whether this is. It looks like a bobble hat and some mittens. It's like grey with like green stripes, and you know what? If this was actually like a human-sized bobble hat, they'd probably sell them. But right. I don't know whether this is actually just for the memes. This is coming from Xbox UK's Twitter account, or it's an actual product, because there's no link to a store page. But damn it, Microsoft! Like, they've had to at least make one of these.
Yeah, all I can think is it's someone on the social teams like good at knitting, and they've just fabricated this hat and gloves essentially for a controller and thought, this will be cute. And someone stuck a photo of it for, again, just viral social things. But can we stop putting clothes on technology, please? They don't need it.
But what if your controller gets cold?
It doesn't, because it doesn't have a blood circulation. It's like
a
fish.
You've been doing Christmassy things. It's cold outside. It's raining. It's snowing. There's a blizzard. You haven't had your heating on your house because you didn't think ahead. You get home. You just want to sit down. You want to play some High on Life. Pick up your controller and it's chilly. It's slightly chilly. However will you play?
But here's the thing, right? Putting a little hat on it and some cute mittens, that works for animals and humans because we generate heat. So the hat and the mittens keep the heat in. A controller isn't producing anything if it's just sat there in your office.
Electrical components give off heat.
Yeah, but it's not on. It's not doing anything. So when you pick it up and you take the hat and the gloves off of your controller, it's still going to be cold because it's not been sat there all night going, these are keeping me nice and toasty. It's ridiculous. Clothing for controllers is stupid. As
ridiculous as it is, I hope Microsoft keep doing stuff like this because it's fun to talk about.
It's not.
It's just it's so terrible. Like, if you bought a hoodie or if you buy a hat for your controller, like, return it and give that money to charity. That someone else can put it to use. Like, you're an idiot. Like, I don't even want to sugarcoat that slightly. If this is an actual thing to sell, to be purchased, and you buy it, you're an idiot. You could have bought a cup of tea and a sandwich for a homeless person and helped someone out. Like, it's a season of giving, and this shit. Like,
there's much more important things in the world, definitely.
Yeah. like becoming a member of Helix Plays Games. Damn it.
You
Because
messed up at the start and you
I know,
messed up at the end.
People didn't know that because I edited it out, but I messed up the intro this week on both this show and on CloudQuest, where I just went into the intro and just went Helix Cloud Games. I caught myself in the K of Cloud Games, but I messed it up. But you know what I didn't mess up? This outro, because that's all we have time for this week. If you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on. And if you've got a topic you want us to discuss, or you just want to hang out with some awesome people, we have a very vibrant Discord server. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
There was a lot of pressure on me not to mess up that intro. Outro, damn it! Happy New Year and Merry
everyone.
Christmas. We'll see you next year. Bye.